the past 4 years, Brenda Corley has been the principal at iconic Oceanside Academy. Now, she wants to bring her leadership skills to Mount Pleasant Town Council. I speak exclusively with Brenda for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and download my free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Brenda Corley, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming all the way out here.
Anytime. Obviously, you are the principal of Oceanside Collegiate Academy. Describe Brenda Corley's principal these days.
Oh, Brenda Corley is principal. Quintin, I started as a teacher. Loved my time as a teacher. I taught in Charleston, and I taught at a place called Clark Academy.
Sure.
Do you know about Clark?
Right.
You know what? Tough place, but probably the best 5 years of my career. But I didn't know it while I was in it. You know, it's so weird that you can be having the best time and you don't know it until you leave. But after that made me know that I wanted to work with kids in a little bit of a deeper way. So I went back and got my master's in school counseling.
Wow.
Then I was a guidance counselor for about 5 years in Dorchester.
Sure.
And then I went back. That being a guidance counselor taught me that it could just give me that bigger, broader view of school. So when you teach, you kind of just have your own little kingdom, and that's your classroom. And then you're a guidance counselor, and that kind of opens up the school a little bit bigger. And, I thought I could make a difference. And I was looking at my principles and thinking about what not to do. Like,
Sure.
I would never do that. So I went back and got another master's in leadership, and ended up at Wando High School with Miss Beckham.
Sure.
And, that was 5 years of school, the School of Beckham, which changed, I think, who I am and how I see education. And Ocean, she, of course, passed. And that was tough. That was super just hard for me to deal with. I really couldn't be there without her. And at the same time, Oceanside came up, so it was like a little wink from the universe. I don't know. And here we are, this is our 4th year. We started in McClellanville because the building wasn't ready, and enrollment was low. We had 325 students. And, we barely made it that year. It was a struggle. It was this charter school world. It's, it'll make you be scrappy and light on your feet, because we have a budget, and you're held accountable. And if a school doesn't work, they'll shut you down, So there was a lot of pressure. All of a sudden, I went from being in a position where it's not, you really don't have control over a lot. In a traditional school setting, you move to a charter school sort of world, and now you have all the control, but guess what? All the responsibility. So all of a sudden, your kid's achieving, it's your number one goal.
Right.
But then you're also responsible for teachers feeding their families. If your school folds, people are out of work, and then our whole focus of athletics and academics, and we had a lot of stuff to figure out that first year, but we did it. I think I learned over the last 4 years that I am really good at putting teams together. And you don't. I've never been in a position where I got to pick my entire team, Quintin.
Right.
I mean, everybody in this building has come through that desk. And it's sort of, we've ended up with a staff that's, in a way, there's a little piece of me in all of them. And so there's this energy in the building that, the more you get to know me, you'll know that I'm just kind of quirky, I guess. I don't know. Don't take myself too seriously. And just a love for the kids and each other. And and it's been a beautiful, beautiful journey. It almost killed me, but we're in year 4, and we have won 5 state championships, 2 second year and 3 last year. Yeah. We just won our first one this year for swim. Thank you. Yeah. And the kids are happy, Quintin. I've got happy kids, and I've got happy teachers. And what else do I want?
Yeah. How do you translate accountability, experience, and leadership into saying, hey, I want to run and serve the citizens of Mount Pleasant on Mount Pleasant Town Council?
That's such a good question, because I think they're all tied together. So through this process, another lesson I've learned has been that this school would be a regular high school if it were not for that, that team. Yes, I put together, but Quintin, our parents, and I'm not being over dramatic. We have got the best parents I've ever been around. They're supportive. They understand what we're trying to do. They help me to hold our kids accountable. And when I need them, they show up, and that, and along with, we have needed so many partnerships when it comes to this school success, because we have no facilities. So we have to do everything that a traditional school has to do, but they don't give you facility. So we actually have a mortgage where another school would not have a mortgage, right? The district would pay for that. Right. And we have no facilities for our kids to play sports in. So it has been a journey and a challenge, and the relationships that have been built with the town and town staff. So we started working with the Parks and Recreation, some council members like Gary Santos, the Recreation Committee. Yeah. They have just been so just willing. And at the same token, we were like, yes, you need to use your building. Yes, like the SWAT team needed usually bars during the summer. We're like, yes, our gym is probably used more by the town than by my kids. Okay. And it's just been a very symbiotic sort of relationship. And, after I started going to committee meetings and going to council meetings, and because I thought as a school leader in Mount Pleasant, I needed to be more informed. And that's not something I did in the past. I guess because I felt like I really didn't have any power to do anything about anything. So,
how do you hope those people would hold you accountable if you were on town council today?
How do you think that
the citizens will hold you accountable?
How will they hold me accountable? I think that the mere fact that elections are held, and this will be my first time that I will ever think about doing anything like this, but as I'm seeing people supporting me, and so far it's been the most beautiful thing. I have gotten no hate, no negativity. And to me, it's so simple. You either vote for somebody or you don't. So if you feel like I'm going to do a good job for you, representing you, giving you a voice, which is what a politician should do, right? They're there. It's not so much about what am I going to do, but how am I going to represent you, right? So this whole politician thing, I'm learning so much, Quintin. Like I am not the same person I was 2 months ago. I'm not. This is just crazy. But if you think about it, why are people asking me all these crazy questions about how are you going to fix the traffic on 17 and 41? I'm like, I'm not a town planner. There are professionals that we have hired, and this is a tri-county effort. But I'm just getting so many questions that are so specific that I think we need to focus more on the people we're electing should be leaders. They should have a proven track record of leadership. They need to be good communicators, and they need to be, I don't want to be called a role model, but they need to be people with grace, right? That can talk to each other and work collaboratively and know that hard decisions are going to have to be made, and you can still do those and hold credibility with your constituents. And if I don't do a good job, I get voted out. So there's no pressure. It's so simple. It's like you do a good job, and if you want to run again, then you get reelected. If you don't do the job you said you were going to do, right, and you don't communicate, because I think communication is such a huge piece.
Is that lacking on town council in Mount Pleasant?
I don't know if it's communication or if it's that, and they're all amazing people.
Sure.
I don't, and here's the thing I just thought about.
Okay.
If I get elected and this works out and it's as simple as I think it is, because I don't think it's that complicated, I'm going to make running for town council a cool thing. And because look how sad is this, Quintin? This is Mount Pleasant. We have over 93,000 people.
Sure.
You have 9 people running for council.
Right.
9? One just dropped out.
Right.
8.
Right.
When the leadership and just in my parent population alone, I could give you 50 amazing candidates for Mount Pleasant Council, but I don't think people want to go through the process. It's exhausting. I have learned how to make a web page, which I haven't done since college. I have like a Facebook page going. I had to make signs, bumper stickers. I am not a graphic artist. I mean, and those forums are insane. Just you're getting 1,000 questions thrown at you. The Republican forum, where you actually were given yes and no signs to questions that were obviously not yes and no. But listen, I'm already, Quintin, I've got this figured out. You ready? I do. I got it figured out. In 2 years, we're going to have 30 people run for council because I'm going to make it cool to be a council person. And I'm going to try to fix this whole forum thing. That's crazy. You should be able to just give people a resume. This is who I am. This is what I've done. This is the way I feel about big, broad things, right? So people know, are you pro managing growth and keeping our quality of life, or are you pro making us a city and having a railway through the town and we're going to be the next Atlanta, Georgia? You know what I mean? I think you just have to know who you are, who that candidate is at his or her core, and then make a decision based on that. And this forum things are not, they need to be more of a dinner party with like maybe snacks, and then you're talking to people and getting to know who they are. But if we can do that, I think more people would run for office.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you some tough questions.
Oh, goodness. Okay, go.
And this is coming from your Facebook page. Obviously, The Post and Courier has asked a lot of the candidates what do they think on certain issues.
Yes.
And the Post and Courier asks you this. How will Mount Pleasant adjust to the economic implications of the town reaching a build-out scenario in the near future? Will tax increases be necessary? You said this. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to the town's future revenue needs. My question to you is this, Brenda. What revenue needs does the town need right now?
Right now, we are, listen, there's some people that are saying we are at a cliff. We're about to go broke. And then you talk to the mayor, and he's like, we do not have a deficit. We have, it's a multi-million-dollar budget, and it has to be balanced by ordinance, right? So we cannot be in debt. And he sees a bright future ahead. And I think I have faith in his he's got an economic development committee working right now. And they're really, there's some bright minds working on how to change our economy from that construction economy to something else, something that's going to bring those higher paying jobs to Mount Pleasant.
As a matter of fact, I believe you said this too. Well, I think, let me see here. I think it's the Post Courier that says this.
Oh.
I think you told them this too. Every new house adds around $1,300 per year in the expense to the town. Yet a home must be valued at over $800,000 before we even break even. That is.
Yes.
My question to you is this, Brenda. How many new homes in the Mount Pleasant area have been built this year in your mind?
Well, I know that it's been, I don't know exactly the number, but I know it's been 2%. So we had a 2% rate of new construction, I believe. Okay. Not 100% sure, okay. But I heard that in one of the either council meetings or my meetings with the town manager. I'm trying to learn so much, Quintin, but it's a lot of information coming at you in 2 months. Can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
So 2 months ago, first council meeting or whatever, a year ago, I start hearing this word called a donut hole.
Sure.
And I'm in a meeting. It's 9:00 at night, and I'm hungry. And they're talking about donut holes, and I'm like, Where are they? Because I would love donut hole. And then I was Googling. I'm like, I don't think this is food. So I'm Googling donut hole. And I'm like, it's not even in Google. No, I had to actually talk to a human being and go, can you please fill me in this donut hole?
Well, let me ask you then. Obviously, there's a lot of donut holes when it comes to issues with Coleman Boulevard and the heights there.
Yes.
When you think of that, what do you think?
I think that the whole donut hole thing is so interesting because you can't just annex people, right? They have to want to be annexed. And with that last thing with the donut hole and building heights, that was a total compromise, and one that I feel that the mayor did such a good job explaining it as to, and during the meeting he did it as well. You know, how we got in this position, what the options were, and how that was a compromise that I supported 100%.
And let me get back to, I'll come back to that in a few, but you also said this to the Post-Courier too, in regards to obviously new houses being built in Mount Pleasant this year. You said this, quote, taking the quick and easy path of fixing the situation, which was brought about by our exponential growth rate over the last 10 years, only by raising property taxes, would meaning asking taxpayers to absorb a 30% property tax increase. What has been the exponential growth rate over the past 10 years?
So we've gone from, I believe, 50,000 people or 60,000 people to 93. I think you would think that you have to assume that towns have to grow. Because if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So, but the way that we grew was so just exponential. It was the only word I could think of. It wasn't linear. So we didn't go like this. We went like that. And to be in the place we are, having gone through that sort of explosive growth, I know people talk a lot of stuff about council and the town, but I think they've done a beautiful job of managing that. And yes, we've got a lot of traffic, and we need to work on some infrastructure, but I think that the voters over the last 2 elections have been very clear about what they want and what they want this town to feel like and look like, and they're electing people that are going to hopefully carry that vision out and have them be heard. And I think a lot of time, maybe what's happening with council is that, and I'll find out, well, hopefully I'll find out soon, but I don't know if you get into a position and then you forget that you're there to be the voice of the residents, and you start thinking that your head is what's commanding. Do you know what I mean? That it's whatever you think is best, it's what's best for all of us. That's just something I'm going to I've become super aware of, and I want to go into this following that through. I am a politician. Is by definition, you are representing people. This is not about you. It's about what your constituents want, and it would be, and I honestly, I think that we just don't get involved enough. Okay. Had life not taken me down this path, who knows?
And let me get back to the exponential growth rate here in the town of Mount Pleasant, because you told the Post-Courier this, quote, in what world would that be feasible? Not mine. Right. Crucial to Mount Pleasant is transitioning our economy from being a residential construction dependent to more diverse and modern economy. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you 2 questions, Brenda. What has a residential construction dependent done for the town so far? And the other question, what will a more diverse modern economy look like with you on town council?
I think it has the residential economy. I mean, it's gotten us to where we are. We have, I think, my humble opinion, we have fed off of that for a long time because it's been so massive. And as far as how we're going to move into something else, again, I think there's already a plan in place. And I really feel like bringing those great minds of around the Tri-County area together and doing things like that, economy, what was it called again?
Residential construction dependent.
No, the the committee that the mayor's working on.
Oh yeah, the mayor's economic and business development panel.
Right. So I have a lot of faith in the work that those people are doing. That, along with the comprehensive plan, I think putting those things together, we're on the right path. And a lot has been done. It's just a matter of finishing up that comprehensive plan and getting more people's or residents' opinions about what we're going to look like. And it's like a student handbook, right? So I think right now, until they get that comprehensive plan approved and passed, it's kind of like running a school without a student handbook.
Now, you said this to the Post and Quarry as well, quote, the mayor's economic business and development panel, a committee of dozens of business leaders, and another council member has been tasked with producing an economic development strategic plan, that aligns the town with the strategy of the Charleston Regional Development Alliance, which has brought in 50,000 jobs to the region.
Right. That's what I read that.
Yeah.
Too.
In that plan, what part of the plan is something that the town can implement right now, Brenda?
Well, we are, I think, a good industries to bring to town would be IT, corporate headquarters. I know we definitely are in need of more restaurants and customer-friendly businesses north of 41. I live in Commonwealth.
Oh, yeah.
So, things like that.
Things like that. Okay, and you also said this too, and obviously this is a big topic around town, and that's housing. The paper asked you this, the Post and Quarry meeting asked you this, are there any parts of Mount Pleasant well suited to denser, mixed-use development? If so, where? Your answer was this: I feel our residents have spoken in regard to density, and it doesn't seem to be what they want. Any area zone for the light industrial, commercial, or corporate headquarters users should be promoted for just that. That will be the tax base that drives our town into the future. But what's the tax base right now?
What's the tax base
right now in the town of Mount Pleasant?
I am not sure. I'm sorry.
Let me move over to the strong, weak mayor issue.
Yes.
They meaning the Post and Quarry, asked you this: is a strong or weak mayor system ideal for Mount Pleasant, and why? You said this, quote, I believe the headline-grabbing stories, which have derived from council over the last couple of years, have given most of us a misconception that the town's government is not effective. Even though we've gone through exponential growth and we're not as proactive as we could have been with some of the decisions which were made in past, we still live in the best city of the United States. I have the truest admiration and respect for our current mayor, Will Haney, and for our town staff. If the residents wish to make that decision at the ballot box, I would support the referendum. In the meanwhile, we need to keep moving in a positive direction and never forget our residents' desire to stay a town where people feel safe, have great schools, and have a thriving business community. How do you hope to keep that positive direction going with the current system?
I think if we just, hopefully, we can get some council people who will maybe be a little bit more open to having discussions that are more civil and work collaboratively. Right now there's so much dysfunction. I don't know how they got there. I honestly don't know that I could fix it single-handedly. For example, let's just say that somebody just plopped me in the middle of the current 9 and said, fix this, make this team a solid team. I don't know that I could do it, Quintin, and I'm, I haven't followed them enough to see how they got to that point. I do know that there's hope in the future. I think there's quite a few candidates who are running who, I think we've all learned from this, and I don't know of anybody who's running for council right now who doesn't understand the priority it is for everybody to just get along and be civil and help this town move forward, not just with policy, but just they need to stay off the newspapers and negative social media. I mean, the attacks, I don't know if you're following it, but it's intense. And again, I think it's keeping really good, well-meaning, proven leaders from going through the process.
I mean, you talk about priorities. How much is it a priority right now for town council to deal with affordable housing, workforce housing?
I think that is a big priority. I would love to study the concept more. I know that I was speaking with a pretty big developer in the area about something else, not having anything to do with. This was before I was even running for council,
Sure.
and he was the one that brought it up. You know, he was super interested in working with the town and starting that conversation. And but I think it's going to take a developer. It's going to take a developer who's also a philanthropist, and the town, and they already have a couple of committees. I know the town has funded, is working with a foundation right now who is looking at that.
Yeah, Steve Dudash and them.
Yes. So, I mean, I see hope. It's just the one big thing when I'm thinking about it, right? It's like I'll be driving in and thinking how, not that I'm ever going to be able to fix this by myself, but you try to, right? When you're driving. And that is, how do you ask a developer to not make a profit, right? So how do you gauge how much money he's going to make, or who sets that? So I guess he would have to, give up his profit in order to develop this facility or neighborhood. And then after that, it's so cool. But I mean, think about it. Would it be like this rent control departments in New York, right? Where you buy the house, but then you can't sell it because it's so interesting. The whole thing is so mind-boggling.
And that brings me to another question. And I've been talking to a lot of people about this on Quintin School Subs, but if a developer were to come into town in Mount Pleasant and develop affordable housing or workforce housing, how much percentage of that money do you all want them to bring back into the community to help the community with certain initiatives?
So are you saying when we make this deal, part of the deal would be for the developer to put money back
into the community?
But wouldn't they be doing that by just not making as much profit on the development? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't they have to develop those houses for such a deal that we would be able to work out that structure where you could buy a house in Mount Pleasant for, and what would be affordable housing? Would it be $300,000, or would it be $400,000, or $200,000? Like, what's affordable when you're a teacher and you're making $50,000 a year on average, right? And you're single. How much house can you afford? That would be $50,000. That would be no more than $150,000. So, how do you make it that affordable? But see what I mean? We could sit here all day, and I could ask you just as many questions.
Well, let me ask you this, then. What type of housing does Mount Pleasant need now? Is it workforce housing, attainable housing, or affordable housing?
I would focus first on workforce.
Okay. And why now?
Just because, I mean, think about it. It's getting harder and harder. My teachers don't live here. Most of them live in, I've got a couple that live in Somerville, West Ashley, right. Goose Creek. The ones that are married and established, they can. I'm telling you what, if I had not gotten into Mount Pleasant when I got into Mount Pleasant, which was a long time ago, I don't think I couldn't swing it. But I'm here.
You're here.
I did it.
You did it.
Sí se puede.
Let me talk to you more about that. Let me get away from politics, and I know you want to talk about National Heritage Month.
Yes, it is.
Where are you emotional with that?
I am so. I don't know why I love this month. I think it's the one month where you actually get to. I do. I think about where I came from and how I ended here, and my gratitude for this country is always there. But during this month, it just and this year the theme behind the Hispanic Heritage Month is service, which I think it's such a cool concept because Hispanics in this country do serve. We serve in so many different aspects. I myself served. I served literally. I waited tables. Yeah. I was a bartender. Right. I taught. Right. I was a guidance counselor, school administrator. I mean, I believe in servant leadership, meaning that I serve those who I lead, right? So my main focus at school is always, you might find it interesting, but I've got this, I take care of my teachers, right? They're my number one, and everybody in this building knows that their job is to take care of our teachers, because they're the ones who take care of our kids,
Sure.
and I've found that happy teachers, happy kids, happy parents,
Right.
happy parents,
Sure.
happy moi. But yeah, I got to speak at the State Department last week, and it was an amazing experience. And just being a Hispanic leader, Quintin, I have never met another one in South Carolina. I know that once you leave the state, there's a lot of us represented in every areas of everything, to include government. But in South Carolina, if there is another school leader out there who's Hispanic, please email me, because right now I think I'm the only one, and we're not represented in government at all, not one. And I know it's small and it's little, but I think that if I get on council, it's going to be super meaningful for me. And I would love to. I think it's going to be so cool. I think the first thing I do if I get elected is I'm going to go to some elementary school and find a little brown girl and look at her and go, you can do this. I did it, because we have very few people that we can look to, and go, whoa, she can do it. I could do it too.
What
Does that make
is?
sense?
Well, I can't judge that. I'll let the viewers do that. I try to be unbiased.
I got you.
But let me ask you this. What is the future of Hispanics in the town of Mount Pleasant? And what would you do on day one for them?
Oh, man, that's such a good question. Number one, I think, is just having representation, seeing somebody like you in a position of leadership. It's huge, just to let you know that it's possible. You're not invisible. So I think sometimes we feel invisible. Education, I was in a meeting about 2 months ago,
right.
And they were talking about diversity in schools,
right.
And I found out that we don't even count towards diversity. So Hispanics, so all that the State Department of Education is concerned with are white kids and black kids. So you have schools in South Carolina that are 95% Hispanic, but those schools are not diverse. And they'll get dinged on the diversity ratio. And that's just like one of those eye-opening things where you're like, is anybody worried about how we perform, right? How do Hispanics perform? And I think you'll find me, I'm worried about all kids, but I look at us as, they're my kids. They're white, brown, black, they're our kids, but the State Department is always trying to break them into groups, right? So they can't ever talk to you about just kids. It's always, how your white kids doing, how your black kids doing. But nobody ever asked me how my Hispanic kids are doing. So, does that make you diverse if you have a Hispanic school? So, and I'm just starting this journey of getting educated and figuring out how to make it better. But I think that you work all your life, and I've worked so hard physically and just going to school, and I was a single mom, and the struggle was real. And I think I went through a bad divorce, and I'm finally, the last 10 years, I've got an amazing supportive husband. It's actually been 11 years. It's gonna kill me. And my girls are grown. Sorry, my girls are grown, and I'm done with my schooling. I never want to see another college class as long as I live. But I think I'm just finally to that point where,
yes, ma'am.
I'm starting to see the issues and trying to at least figure out what I can hit first and focus on first and learn. I think this council experience is going to be, for me personally, it's going to be an amazing learning opportunity. Like I told you, I have already learned so much in the very short time that I've even volunteered to do this. I can't imagine what you and I talking next year will look like. The questions I'll be able to answer. I think you're going to be so proud of me. You're going to be like, Brenda, you learned that much in a year? Wow! I'm an amazing student. I will work hard, I will read, but I have a lot of work to do.
And I know you were in the news recently. What is that like, being in the news?
In the news? What was in the news about?
I thought, was it you?
Oh, did I just get you something wrong? What was in the news? What did I do? Which thing?
Town council?
Town council in the news? Yes. What was that like?
That was.
What are you talking about? I'm not saying anything. You say it.
I got you.
Okay. Yes.
Well, thank you for this. This was fun. I mean,
This was so much fun. I'm telling you, Quintin, this time next year, if I win, if I lose, you can still come by and talk to me. I'll be here.
Yeah,
super happy.
Yeah,
I'll still be here. But if I win, you're going to be like, is this Sotomayor or is this Brenda Corley? Because I'm going to be at that level. I'm going to know. I'm going to know. I'm going to know a lot.
Alrighty then.
Yeah.
Well, Brenda Corley, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anytime. This was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.